Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today you will find out the most prominent theoretical key factors that shaped the modern Sodomical secular religion and what is the unplanned factors that supported this ideology unintentionally. This is Amr Abdulaziz and you are in the Bright Minaret channel. There are 5 main theoretical factors that coin the modern Sodomical secular religion. Number 1 is the progress doctrine, which argues that human history is moving on a unilinear path, and this path to the future is overrunning the past, which was archaic and fueled with superstitious beliefs and inhumane laws of society and intolerable juridical systems. The conclusion of the progress doctrine is that the past is bad, the present is tolerable, and the future shall be good. Almost all major secular religions of the past 2 centuries were based on this doctrine, from the Age of Enlightenment and the emergence of liberalism to Marxism and its offshoots. The progress doctrine is a grand theory of Sodomical ideology because historically sodomy was a crime and despised anti-God and anti-nature feelings and behaviors. But under the progress doctrine, historical generalized tenets and what was previously believed to be a common sense of all humans is now disputed and doubtful. So it was easy for homosexuals to construct their religions under the umbrella of this grand theory. The second is feminism. Feminism was the direct mother of modern Sodomical ideology because second wave feminism came with the gender theory, a theory that says biological sex is of minor effect on what we think is the nature of females or males, and what is responsible for those by gender stereotypes is the archaic social constructions which was patriarchal and discriminate against females by stereotyping male as a reasonable and powerful superhuman while stereotyping female as an emotional and imprudent subhuman. The extreme form of this radical ideology called for a revolutionary gender theory, where biology is of no importance in deciding who is male and who is female, and society too should be of no importance. It is the individual who has the right if he or she wants to be classified as the opposite of his or her initial assigned biological sex, then the society must foster his or her choice. Freedom of choice, which is the cornerstone of liberalism, led directly to gender-fluid society, where you can be a female biologically, but you define yourself as a male, and anyone refers to you as a female will be a criminal and dragged to jail because of racism. The madness of gender theory, a theory that feminists themselves thought it would change the course of history in their favor and reshape the society against male domination, is imposing nowadays unprecedented problems for females, because their theory shattered the essence of females and created a fluidity where transgender females too can proclaim the right to be a representative of female societies and compete with other females in sports, for one example. And when the feminists said it was wrong and those are not real females, they were charged with discrimination and sexism. Feminists, with their bare hands, produced the transgender monster where males could prevail not only in males' sphere but also in females' enclosed sphere. Individualism is the third prominent factor, and it shared in coining the modern Sodomical by its assertion on uniqueness of every single human, and the antisocial aspect that accuses the social norms and the collective standards of being repressor tyrants. And in the context of gender theory, the only way for liberty would be recognizing the freedom of every person to define himself or herself with the gender he or she likes. With individualism, gender found its wheel to run as a Sodomical ideology, because gender fluidity and diversity means anti-collective norms and anti-social standards. With individualism, the denouncement question, "Who are you to judge me?" became a common phrase, and "Don't judge me" became a sacred slogan in modern days. You don't have the right to discriminate against transgenders or to condemn homosexuality because those are choices of another individual, and your judge is based on an absolute collective culture. That's one reason why the Sodomical ideology took the character of a revolutionary movement. It was the adversary of a traditional collective society in which old religions and by gender stereotyping culture were the core of imposing anti-homosexual thinking and behavior. They had to bump up against the common masses with pride and force them to capitulate. Herbert Marcuse's passion revolution theory is also a key factor in inspiring the 60s sexual revolution, and its influence is beyond debate. Marcuse's theory could be summarized as follows. The industrial capitalism in Western Hemisphere suppressed the sexual, passionate, open relationships, or what Freud would call eros, and that led to a gloomy society living in endless wars. And to seize the depressing fatal wars, we must indulge in open sexual activities that relieve our dismal, which Marcuse called polymorphous sensuality. These diverse activities are beyond any limits. It is a sexual utopia where anyone can have intercourse with anyone else and with no ties. That certainly will lead to a new world order, a world living in peace. This theory coined both peace activities and revolutionary movements by the glue of pornography, and with mass demonstration calling for anti-traditional and anti-religious intimacy, which included sodomy and group sex. The homosexuals found another ingenious theoretical base for their ideology. Relativism and postmodernism were the last major theories. They provided sodomical ideology with another base for its chaotic sex sphere. In relativism, every aspect of any given culture is bonded with its own evolutions and circumstances. There is no universal absolute truth about anything. And in postmodernism, any given term is fluid with unlimited meanings, and there is no absolute truth about these meanings. Thus, there are no universal genders and no universal natural sex behaviors. You could call yourself a woman while you are biologically male, and the term is right because you decided its meaning. And you can have same-sex affairs and call it natural sex because you decided it is natural. There are no sinful or unnatural acts if you don't harm anyone else. These 5 theories were the direct factors that led to the emergence of modern sodomical phenomenon. But we have also some accidental factors that enhances the application of sodomical ideology, like the great advancement in medical fields and the breakthrough in plastic surgery and hormone therapy. Nowadays, male to female and female to male surgeries and therapies are a thriving business in the Western clinic. The second unintentional factor is the prevalence of welfare culture. And the main reason is the decline of big wars. I don't encourage wars. However, I'm just pointing out one of the major outcomes of no war culture. The absence of compelling circumstances that promote the obvious distinction between sexes. Males into wars and public sphere, and females accompanying children into shelter and private sphere. In this gruesome weather, most women, whether they are feminists or not, want to welcome abandoned shelters and kids to join men's awful battlefields just to prove the equality allegations and to assert that gender theory is working. The third factor is the surfeit of natural sexual activities and the searching for more and more. The human being, especially males, doesn't have a certain sufficiency limit in sexual activities, and getting overfed with women or natural sex may induce looking for more pleasure in sodomy. The sociological psychology researchers found that Western males in the beginning of the 20th century were easily agitated with women's leg. For example, unlike the end of the same century, they argued that the prominent independent factor here is a change in clothing habits. Males used to see not only women's legs but nudity as well, and that it affected their passion in a bad way. They are now seeking for more than mere nudity. Females as well have their own tricky issues with that open sexual culture. Sexologists notice that a lot of normal females may be agitated or even attracted to another beautiful females. In a phenomenon, some researchers called it females' erotic plasticity. The human passions and desires are not a closed box. It could be altered with cultural pressure. Our last factor is complex and the opposite of the previous one. It consists of both the expansion of unisex institutions and the practical prohibition of marriage. This factor is seen in the Islamic world, where emotional and sexual affairs are denied by the society that inhibits teenagers' marriage and practically obstruct youth marriage by exaggerated demands of females. The young males or females in such culture won't find any natural channel to direct their passions and emotions except same-sex colleagues. The Islamic solution of early marriage is prohibited legally, culturally, and practically. Finally, those theories and factors merged to form the modern sodomical secular religion. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.